Hello, and welcome to the course Sharing Your Umbrella After the Storm. I'm Catherine Helt, and I do community outreach with some of the funeral homes and cemeteries in town. My job is to support the community and to help with churches and hospices and assisted living and grieving people in the community in general. I am a certified grief recovery specialist, and I was a teacher. And I'm glad to be here with you guys today. I work with Dignity Memorial locations in the upstate, Mackey at Century Drive, and Mackey at Woodlawn Memorial Park, and Dillard in Pickens, and Hillcrest Memorial Park. Anyway, to start with, I just wanted to say I really feel for you moms, especially in this last year. It's been hard enough anyway to be cooped up and everybody dealing with the pandemic and so forth. And then to have signed up for this grief support event for mothers, and it had to be postponed, and then it's been a year, and I just feel for you. And I know losing a child is the worst loss. It's just not supposed to be that way. I am friends with several people who have lost children, and it's just difficult and heart-wrenching. And I feel for you all, and if I can help a little bit, that's what I'm here to do. It's as a mother who's lost a child, you're not only grieving for your child that you've lost, but also the future that you had envisioned and what you had hoped for them and the different events. It's definitely going through the grief process is a complicated process. It takes a while, and it is a journey, and it'll always be a journey. And the goal here through what I'm going to be sharing with you is just to help a little bit to find some peace and joy again in your life in certain ways, to just help some and bring you through the process a little more. This session is about that sometimes you need an umbrella to shield you from the grief. And also you can share your umbrella, share some of your strength that you've been able to muster, some of your kindness and caring for others, and feel a little bit better yourself. And there definitely is research on helping others and volunteering, and definitely there are benefits for you. Multiple people have written about the fact that there were lots of ways they've tried to heal their grief, but reaching out and helping others was definitely something that helped them along the way. I know if I'm personally having a bad day and I get out and am around others, and get my mind off of things, that it definitely helps. And that's some of what we're talking about with this. There's different ways to volunteer and help others. There was a story about one guy who decided to do Meals on Wheels, and the guy who did this had lost his son, 16-year-old son, and he was feeling terrible and decided to try volunteering at Meals on Wheels, and he ran across another client who had also lost a child, and the client was fairly joyful, and he wondered why. How could he be that joyful? And the older gentleman said that he was happy that he was alive himself. He still got sad, but thinking of his child. But after a little over a year, when he thought of his son, he said he tried to think of pleasant memories of something funny or amusing his son has said or done, and that put a smile on his face. That's an interesting way of thinking that person could achieve that. And just hearing that from somebody else, the guy who is doing the Meals on Wheels, felt a little better, and just talking to the other person who had lost someone. He would deliver meals to older people who had trouble getting out and cooking or shopping or whatever. He would do it once a week, a little less than 2 hours, and for him, it helped him feel a little less grief-stricken. Not nearly as much as this older man that he was a client of his, but he knows he helped him, and he got helped himself. As far as evidence about helping others and volunteering and feeling better, there is a lot of research that has been done on it. There was a study in 2003 of American churchgoers, and the basic finding of the study was that helping others is associated with higher levels of mental health above and beyond the benefits of receiving help and other known psychospiritual stress and demographic factors. So receiving help was nice too, but giving help was a more important predictor of the better reported mental health than receiving help. So it's better, that saying, it's better to give than receive. There's a study out of England, volunteering in health, what impact does it really have? There were some 87 papers about it. Volunteering was shown to decrease mortality and to improve self-rated health, mental health, life satisfaction, social interaction, healthy behaviors, and coping ability. 2007 study interviewed people from the US and looked at the effect of volunteering on people, in this case, who had lost spouses. And it said that it protected the spouses from depressive symptoms as they increased volunteer hours, and they felt better about being able to function themselves, self-efficacy. Investigation of whether it protects older adults who've lost their roles as partners, parents, or employees. And this is another thing with losing a child. It could be that you've lost part of your role as a mom. So similarly, someone who's lost their spouse, they've lost the role of the spouse. The researchers concluded that results further demonstrate that being a formal volunteer can protect older adults, or I think anybody, with a greater number of major role identity absences from decreased levels of purpose in life. So volunteering and being able to help others when they've lost their role that they've had in life. So there are kind of some examples of individuals who've lost children and have gone on to to give to others and kind of have a mission. And these are ones we've all heard of, Mothers Against Drunk Driving. It was founded by two moms who'd lost children to drunk driving. And so because they set that up and it's been so visible, so many lives have been saved because of these two moms who lost children and their extraordinary efforts to see that laws against drunk driving are enforced. Another high profile one would be the father, John Walsh, who lost his son. Son Adam was abducted and killed, and he started America's Most Wanted, and he has raised awareness of missing and exploited children, that now Code Adam, named after his son, is used in many stores in the US to announce a child has gone missing. And those are some examples of parents who've like really gone towards a purpose to help in their grief. So that's some of the high profile examples, but then of course most of us, most regular people, it's just gravitating towards just helping others. And you can, as a volunteer, there's many opportunities and many ways to help people. You can help others who are grieving to kind of help your own grief progress. Some people volunteer at hospices. Some people decide to get into counseling others, participating in grief support groups, online you can do. And some people, like I said, do counseling or get trained as a grief counselor. And what the research shows is it doesn't matter the type of volunteering, it's what matters to you. And the people who volunteered, there was a little question, is it really the volunteering or the people who are going to do better anyway, volunteer more? That's something to think about, but that overall, there's definitely evidence to suggest that volunteering can help you feel better after a devastating loss. Then next, this is something, so we talked about the whole purpose of this is to help you guys feel and progress through your grief journey. Keep going with it and hopefully feel a little bit better. And this is a way you can feel a little bit better, even with COVID and wearing a mask and whatever. There's ways that you can definitely get involved. And I just was talking about the different research that showed that it definitely does help, and there's definite evidence of that. Some things to consider though, if you're thinking of volunteering and considering it, is to really keep in mind that volunteering and helping others could be kind of a way to avoid grief, and that is part of why it helps to get your mind off of your own things for a little bit and help others. But if somebody avoids it altogether and never addresses it and never is allowed to really feel it and process through, then that's not good, because you need to go through the grief process. If you just ignore it, it just sits in there and it's gonna come out in other ways for sure. So there's ways people sometimes avoid it. If you don't want to feel emotional, and you just throw yourself into volunteer work or advocacy work as a distraction. If you do it too much, like I said, it can be kind of negative because you're not processing your own thing. One nice part is it kind of a perspective. If you spend time helping people who are even worse off than yourself, it kind of allows you some perspective on things. Like on the Meals on Wheels route, I know one time I did it, there was a blind person who came to the door, and they just were in a old house, dirty, just not great living conditions. And I still remember it. And so it might help to spend time with people who are in a worse situation than you, and it kind of helps with perspective on your situation. However, at the same time, you don't want to get too upset about it and worry about them too much and have it bring you down more. So there's a real balance here. So the studies have shown this is a good thing to do, but then these are things to kind of keep in mind and keep a balance on. If you feel, in the same situation, helping others can make a person feel better. But if you are so emotionally fragile and overwhelmed by whatever volunteer situation you've gotten yourself into, it may be too much. If you're getting stressed from it, and there's people whose pain you're taking on in too great of a way, then it could be the opposite. It could be stressful. The depth of others' pain, you might end up feeling worse. So just keep a check on all these things. The research has shown that a good lower level of volunteer service can have a positive impact, but if it becomes excessive, it can be stressful and the opposite. This was interesting. The reason for volunteering here, we're obviously talking about helping to feel better in your grief. Along with that, it will be good if you can think of or look at the list provided for suggestions of something that you really want to do, that you really would enjoy and be really passionate about or interested in, because they've found that as far as the motivation for volunteering, if it's for an altruistic reason, you really want to help whatever this cause is, then that is great. If it's for just the reason of, I want to feel better, I want social connection, want to just learn something, I want to enhance myself, then it wasn't as helpful. So it will help you to feel better is what the research shows, but then choose something that you really like and that you really you're wanting to help in and that you feel strongly about. Let's see, with the some of the things of if you don't choose the right thing and you start to feel it negative, it can be like a burden or frustration when people you're working with have overwhelming problems, or needs. So with all of this, figure out something that you're going to really be interested in, be passionate about, and then through that, set boundaries to not let yourself get too overwhelmed and limitations. And just know that you might have the grief related emotions come up throughout that. And also, while you're interacting with those either online or in person through this with masks on through COVID and so forth, something that is important is to be self-aware and to make sure that you're in a fairly good place with your grief. Check in with yourself from time to time, and ask yourself whether this work is actually bringing you closer to a place of healing. You might encounter some people who are also grieving, and your experience will be helpful for them. And then everybody's experience is different, though. So that's why we're saying to check in with yourself and just make sure that it's working to make you feel better and not overwhelmed. So that's the whole goal. In your box that has all the handouts and so forth, there's a handout from me that says sharing your umbrella after the storm. And I pulled together some resources, resource needs and opportunities, some volunteer opportunities in the upstate right now. And I didn't put on here anything child related because I figured that would be too close to home, and that can be something for later. But I put on just a whole variety. There's interesting ones, cycling without age. It's it's taking some older people out. It's at the Woodlands at Furman, taking older people, less abled people out on a bike ride. That's something just totally random and different that might be fun for somebody. Meals on Wheels is on there, and I here's a little visual. So Meals on Wheels, make it interesting. There's the Center for Community Services in Simpsonville. The Salvation Army is a great organization. Through United Way, Hands on Greenville, Our Savior Community Ministries, and I listed, they have a food pantry. So that's something that just people who don't have food, literally, you could help with stocking their store and distributing things. The Julie Valentine Center is for victims of sexual assault, child abuse survivors. So that one does possibly have some kids there, but it's for women who've experienced sexual assault. That it's such a important cause. I put that on there anyway. And then Project Host Soup Kitchen, Habitat for Humanity. You could be outside and helping build and so forth. Another one, there's either Greenville County Animal Care or Greenville Humane Society for animals. And I brought a picture of my pups as a visual. And that, if you are passionate about animals, either one of those would love to have help, and it can get your mind off of what you're going through and help some animals. Greenville Literacy Association, there's tutors are needed to help people with English as a second language, or people who never adults who didn't learn to read and they're having trouble functioning without that, and you could help them with reading. And then at the very end, on the bottom of the last page, there's a couple of websites where if none of these things look good, you could look for further opportunities, volunteermatch.org and idealist.org, and you can put in Greenville, South Carolina, and it'll show you all these different volunteer opportunities. My goal with this page was to provide you a variety of ideas, and then to provide you with who to contact, so you don't have to look it all up, because you've got enough going on. It's hard enough. So I try to put a phone number, email address, or website. So there it is. If you like one of these and you would like to possibly participate, that's where you go. That's who you call. That's what website you go to, and just let them know that you're interested in volunteering. Also at the end, I put my number and my email address if you have any questions. And I put on this same page the quote paragraph at the top. I just really like how this lady said this about volunteering. So I'll end with this. Reaching out to help others doesn't have to look a certain way. You don't have to go out and find another griever and help them. I left out the word help here, another griever, and help them. Helping others can be done in many ways. Rescuing or helping animals, volunteering at a local shelter, helping an elderly or handicapped neighbor. There's so many ways you can reach out and in the process help to heal some of your own pain. I believe part of the relief comes from the fact that when we help others who are struggling, we are reminded that we aren't alone. And that is really true. Even though we're having to be virtual on everything this year, we're still out there, and everybody, we're not alone. We're not. And Jan and Alice Ann and everybody who puts on this event, the Heartstrings volunteers, are so loving and caring and giving. They've been through it. They wanted to help you. They wanted to help other moms. And just know you are not alone. They're out there. There's other moms out there, and you're not alone. It ends with, we are all in this human experience of life together, and that is how we best get through it together. So I hope this has helped some, and maybe just put some thoughts or ideas into your mind. And I will be thinking of all of you on this day of the event and onward, and just praying that you all will have some peace and some lifting a little bit of your grieving. And just know there's people who care, including me.